My hands are shaky so bad right now I can barely type this. NGL, I never thought I'd be posting on a throwaway account about my life falling apart. I'm Mark, 35, married to Sarah for 10 years, and I thought we were solid. But yesterday she dropped a bomb on me and I just know something's seriously wrong. I'm still trying to piece together how we got here. 1 minute, Sarah and I are just us, normal, or what I thought was normal. The next, she's sitting across from me, stone-faced, dropping the words, "Oye's trial separations," like it's a grocery list item, just like that, out of the blue. I swear my ears started ringing. Blindsided doesn't even begin to cover it. My gut felt like it had been punched by a heavyweight. When I finally found my voice, all I could manage was, "What? Why?" She just shrugged, barely making eye contact, said I wasn't romantic enough, said I took her for granted. And then the kicker, "You've gained weight, Mark." Like that was some grand revelation she'd been holding on to. My chest tightened. I mean, sure, I'm not exactly chiseled like I was in college, but neither is she. And I thought we were past that kind of petty judgment. It felt like she was just rattling off generic complaints, almost like she'd rehearsed them. Like these weren't her feelings, but bullet points from some online article. Then she just kept going, explaining her plan with terrifying calmness. She'd be staying with Brenda, her best friend, for a while. Our contact would be limited to one in-person meeting a week. One a week for my wife of 10 years. It wasn't a discussion, it was an announcement. She had it all mapped out, down to the logistics. I felt like a stranger in my own life, being dictated terms. And then came the big one. The one that hit me like a ton of bricks and made every single alarm bell in my head scream. "Mark," she said, her voice dropping, "I don't want you checking my phone, following me, or hiring some PI. If you do, it just shows a complete lack of trust." My jaw almost hit the floor. TBH, that was the biggest goddamn red flag I've ever seen in my life. Who says that? Unless they have something massive to hide. It felt like she was preemptively shutting down any attempt I might make to find out what was really going on. It wasn't about trust, it was about control, about making sure I stayed in the dark. I tried to fight back, to make her see how unfair, how disrespectful this all was. "Sarah, this isn't a separation. This is you dictating terms completely out of nowhere. We're supposed to be a team, to talk this stuff through." But she just waved a hand, dismissing me. "I'm not doing this, Mark. I'm late. Brenda's waiting." And she just walked out. Just like that. Left me standing there in our living room, completely gutted. The days after were a blur. I threw myself into work, picking up every overtime shift I could. Anything to keep my mind from spiraling. I worked until I couldn't see straight. One night I almost rear-ended a semi-truck on the highway, just zoned out, my head pounding with exhaustion in a constant loop of Sarah's words. I was a wreck, physically and emotionally. Then about a week into this separation, I got a text from her. My heart leaped. IDKY, I guess I was just desperate for any sign of her. "Missing you, babe," it read. And then the punchline, "But I'm out late tonight, don't call." The whiplash was real. She misses me, but I can't call her? What the actual hell? It felt like a sick game, like she was dangling a carrot just out of reach, making sure I knew I was still her property, but she was free to do whatever she wanted. A deep, bitter resentment started to fester. Here I was, running myself into the ground, barely sleeping, nearly killing myself on the road, while she was out late with Brenda, seemingly having the time of her life. I felt like a complete idiot, a chump, that was it. I snapped. I quit the overtime. Fuck that. I needed to fight for my marriage. For us. I needed to show her I was willing to change, to put in the effort. I decided to swallow my pride, to ignore the red flags for a minute and try to win her back. I bought her favorite flowers, a huge bouquet, and a box of those fancy chocolates she loves. My heart was pounding when I drove to Brenda's place. This was it. I was going to talk sense into her. Brenda answered the door, looking too comfortable. She gave me this weird, almost knowing smile, and her hand lingered on my arm a little too long when she let me in. It just felt off. like I was interrupting something, or worse, like she was enjoying my misery. Sarah came out looking annoyed. I held out the flowers and chocolates, my voice a little shaky. Hey, I thought maybe we could talk. Go out, like a date? She barely glanced at them. Mark, no. Brenda and I have plans. She wouldn't even let me in properly, keeping the doorway blocked. Look, I just want to understand what's happening, I pleaded, trying to meet her eyes, but she kept looking over my shoulder. There's nothing to understand right now. Just give me space, okay? As I walked back to my car, defeated, I saw them. My beautiful bouquet of flowers still in their cellophane, in the box of chocolates, tossed haphazardly next to Brenda's trash cans. Just discarded, like rubbish. My stomach dropped. I got back in my car, numb. Before I could even start the engine, Sarah came back out, walked up to my window. Oh, and Mark, she said, her voice strangely flat, you should probably take a month off work soon. We'll need the extra money. NGL, that was a chilling thing to hear. What extra money? Why would we need it? It felt like another bomb, but I was too numb to even react. A few days later, my desperation got the better of me. I drove back to Brenda's, flowers still a distant, discarded memory. I just wanted to see Sarah, to talk, to actually see her face and try to understand. Brenda opened the door, and there they were. Both of them, Sarah and Brenda, dressed up to the nines. Heels, makeup, little black dresses, ready for a night out. Brenda gave me that same weird, almost smug smile as last time. Sarah just looked annoyed, like I was an inconvenience. Mark, what are you doing here? She asked, her voice sharp. We're going out. There was no invitation. No, do you want to join us? Just a clear, awkward dismissal. I mumbled something about wanting to talk, but she just shook her head. Not now. We'll talk at our weekly meeting, okay? Brenda practically ushered me back out the door. As it clicked, shut, I heard them. A burst of high-pitched giggles from inside. It wasn't just Sarah's rejection that stung. It was the sheer, carefree joy in those giggles. While my world was falling apart, they were off having a blast. It amplified the unease I'd been trying to ignore. I came home, a hollow ache in my chest. Later that week, while I was trying to tidy up, actually, folding some old laundry Sarah had left behind, I found it, tucked deep in the pocket of her favorite pair of jeans, a crumpled little piece of paper. It looked like a napkin, really. My hands were shaking as I smoothed it out. In messy, unfamiliar handwriting, it read, "Meet me at the usual spot, 7 p.m. My blood ran cold. The usual spot. This wasn't some friendly coffee date. This was clandestine. This was my first concrete piece of evidence that my gut, which had been screaming at me for weeks, was absolutely right. This wasn't about lack of romance or my weight. This was something else. Someone else. I called Brenda. NGL, it was a shot in the dark, but I was desperate for answers, even if they were painful. She picked up, her voice surprisingly cheerful. I forced myself to sound calm, like I was just checking in. Hey, Brenda, quick question. Is Sarah around? I just wanted to confirm our meeting time. There was a slight pause. Then Brenda, with no hesitation, no warmth, just this blunt, almost eager tone said, Oh, Sarah's with her new guy right now. My breath hitched. Her new guy? My heart felt like it had stopped. It was like getting hit by a truck, but also a weird sense of confirmation. Like the other shoe I'd been dreading finally dropped. Brenda just kept talking, oblivious, or maybe just uncaring about the bomb she'd just detonated in my life. Yeah, she's been seeing someone for a while now. They're getting pretty serious. She's talking about wanting a divorce. Divorce. The word echoed in my head, a final brutal blow. It wasn't a trial separation anymore. It was over. And not just over, but betrayed. Brenda's words confirmed everything. Sarah hadn't just met someone during this separation. She'd been seeing someone for a while, which meant she'd been seeing him before the separation, before she dropped those vague reasons, before the gaslighting. And Brenda knew. Brenda, who I thought was a friend of both of us, knew the whole time and helped her. The layers of betrayal piled up so fast I could barely breathe. That's when something inside me snapped. The despair was still there, a constant hum, but a cold, hard determination started to take over. I wasn't just the hurt husband anymore. I was an investigator. I had to know everything. Every single detail. I had to understand what had truly happened to my life. I couldn't let Sarah just walk away and rewrite our history without me knowing the full truth. I decided right then and there I would be discreet. I wouldn't confront her until I had undeniable proof. My first move was to check the mail. We still had joint mail coming to the house. Among the bills and junk, I found a plain envelope addressed to Sarah, handwritten. Inside was a casual card, not romantic, just a thinking of you kind of thing. It was signed by Rick. The name jogged a memory. Months ago, Sarah had mentioned a Rick when she had car trouble, said he helped her out. At the time, I didn't think twice. Now it felt like a cold spike of suspicion. I remembered Sarah had an old tablet she rarely used, just sitting in a drawer. Maybe, just maybe, she hadn't logged out of everything. My hands were shaking as I powered it on. It booted up, and there it was. Her email inbox, still logged in. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. I scrolled through, past the newsletters and spam, and then I saw it. An email, relatively recent, from Rick. I clicked it, my breath held. The subject line was innocuous, but the content, "Hey beautiful, can't wait for our plans next week. So excited for our future together. Thinking of you always." Affectionate, possessive, and their future plans. This was it, the digital evidence. No more doubt, no more gut feeling. I clicked back, my fingers numb, and scrolled further. There was another one, even more recent, also from Rick. This one talked about another meeting, but then it dropped another bomb. "Just confirm timing for us to sell those items, babe. We'll need the pitch." Sell items? What items? Our items? The question swirled, a bitter storm in my head. I remembered Sarah mentioning a few months back how she'd like a new ring. Nothing specific, just a passing comment, but we never discussed it further. Never went shopping. And certainly, I hadn't bought her anything. So seeing these charges, one for a few thousand, another for even more, made my stomach clench. They were both from the same local jewelry store, a high-end place downtown. My heart was pounding, but I knew I had to get more information. I rehearsed my lines in my head, then called the jewelry store. "Hi, I'm calling about a recent purchase," I said, trying to mimic Sarah's voice, adding a bit of her slight lilt. "My husband, Mark, wanted to confirm something about a ring I bought." I gave her my last name and she pulled up the account. "Oh yes, Mrs. my last name," she chirped. "Which ring are you referring to? We have 2 recent purchases." 2 distinct rings. My breath caught in my throat. 2, I stammered, trying to sound surprised, not utterly devastated. I only remember one." The woman, bless her oblivious heart, was happy to elaborate. "Yes, the first was a beautiful diamond solitaire, purchased by you, Mrs. my last name, a couple of months ago. The second was a men's band, a few weeks later. That one was purchased with you with an associate." An associate? Not me. A men's band, purchased after Sarah had moved out. The timeline crashed down on me. She bought his ring with him after she'd already started her separation from me. It wasn't just an affair, it was a full-blown engagement, a parallel life, while I was left in the dark. The sheer audacity, the cold calculation of it, made me sick to my stomach. Then another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. I remembered maybe a month before she dropped the separation bomb, I'd found a brochure on the kitchen counter. It was a local ad, a glossy picture of a smiling lawyer specializing in divorce. I'd brushed it off then, thinking maybe it was just junk mail she hadn't tossed. Now it felt like a chilling premonition, another sign I'd been too blind to see. She wasn't just planning an affair, she was planning an escape, and she was weaponizing my kindness, my trust, against me. I knew then that I couldn't do this alone. I needed undeniable legal proof. I searched online for private investigators in our area, my hands still shaking, but my resolve hardened into steel. I found a Ben, a no-nonsense guy with good reviews. I called him, my voice cracking a little as I explained the situation, trying to keep the emotion out, just sticking to the facts. He listened patiently. Sounds like you need eyes on the ground, Mark. I can start tomorrow. The next few days were excruciating. Every time my phone buzzes, my heart leaped. Finally, an email came through from Ben. The subject line was Surveillance Report. Sarah, my last name. I clicked it open, dread warring with a desperate need to know. Subject is confirmed to be in an ongoing affair, the report started. My eyes blurred for a second, but I kept reading. Met a male subject at Willow Creek Park today, 2 p.m. Engaged in public displays of affection, holding hands, intimate conversation. Followed them to a coffee shop, continued to hold hands. Later observed leaving together in male subject's vehicle. And then the photos. My stomach churned. There she was, Sarah, my wife. Laughing, smiling, holding hands with another man. His arm was around her. They looked like a couple. A happy couple. My throat closed up. The anger that surged through me was volcanic. Pure, unadulterated rage mixed with a profound sense of betrayal. It wasn't just a fantasy. It was real, tangible, photographed. My world was indeed a lie. I reread the report, my eyes scanning for any detail about him, the man, and there it was, almost buried at the bottom of the email. Well, subject identified as Richard Rick Jenkins, known locally as a family law attorney specializing in divorce cases. My entire body went numb. Rick the car trouble helper. Rick from the emails about our future and selling items. Rick the lawyer. The pieces didn't just fall into place, they slammed into place with the force of a train wreck. She wasn't just having an affair with a random guy, she was having an affair with a divorce lawyer. Her divorce lawyer, probably. He was helping her orchestrate everything. This wasn't just cheating, this was a calculated, premeditated attack on my life, my marriage, my future. The sell items email, the will need the extra money comment, the rings. Everything clicked into a horrifying, crystal clear picture of systematic deception. That connection, the PI warning, the lawyer, it solidified my resolve. My focus shifted entirely to protecting myself. I started gathering every single financial document I could get my hands on. Bank statements, credit card bills, investment accounts, everything. I felt a cold dread as I began to review them. It didn't take long to find it. Large, systematic cash withdrawals, not just once, but every few weeks, spanning several months. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. Small enough not to immediately flag, but adding up to a significant amount. She had been quietly, covertly draining our joint savings account. The account we had for emergencies, for our future. Our future that she was now trying to dismantle with her new lawyer lover. I called Daniel, the lawyer Ben recommended. Daniel specialized in high-conflict divorce cases, and after hearing my story, he didn't mince words. Mark, you need to secure your assets immediately. This isn't just about infidelity. This is about financial malfeasance. We need to move fast. He advised me to change my bank account details, redirect my direct deposits, and essentially wall off my finances from her access. I did it that very same day. Every transaction felt like a nail in the coffin of my marriage, but also a vital step in protecting myself from what felt like a calculated attack. With the immediate financial leaks plugged, I dove deeper into Sarah's spending patterns. The joint credit card statements became a roadmap of her deception. There was a noticeable, almost alarming increase in categories like personal grooming, high-end salon visits, expensive cosmetics I'd never seen before. And then, gifts. Not for me, not for family, but frequent purchases at boutiques, men's clothing stores, and even a couple of luxury item purchases I couldn't attribute to anyone we knew. Rick's new ring, I thought bitterly. My money, paying for her affair and her new life. It infuriated me, remembering all the times Sarah would complain about our finances, saying we needed to be more careful. We couldn't afford a new whatever. All while she was secretly siphoning off our savings and lavishing money on herself and her lover. The hypocrisy was gut-wrenching. I needed to see her reaction. I sent her a text trying to keep it calm, even though I was shaking with anger. So, Sarah, about this trial separation. When I think we both know it's not really about my weight or lack of romance, is it? I know about your new friend. Her response was immediate, defensive. What are you talking about, Mark? You're being paranoid. There's no new friend. You're just trying to make me out to be the bad guy. This is exactly why I needed space. Classic gaslighting, but it didn't work anymore. I had the emails. I had Ben's photos. I had the bank statements. Her lies were transparent. Daniel, my lawyer, started digging into Rick Jenkins' professional history. It turned out Rick wasn't just any divorce lawyer. He was known for being exceptionally aggressive, particularly when it came to asset division. More disturbingly, Daniel found records of other cases where Rick's clients had been accused of attempting to hide or dissipate marital assets before filing for divorce. The "sell those items, babe" email from Rick suddenly made terrifying sense. He wasn't just her lover, he was her architect of financial destruction. The weight of it all was immense, but it also fueled me. I spent hours, days even, meticulously compiling a detailed spreadsheet. Every suspicious transaction, every large cash withdrawal, every questionable gift purchase was logged, dated, and cross-referenced. I was building my case, brick by painful brick. This wasn't just about a broken heart anymore. This was about justice. This was about proving the elaborate, cold-blooded deception Sarah and Rick had orchestrated. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I remembered something Sarah had mentioned a few months back, before the separation bomb dropped. She'd vaguely brought up taking on a side hustle. I'd asked her about it, what kind of hustle. She was super cagey, just said it was helping a friend with a jewelry business, and that it was no big deal. Looking back, every single detail now screamed red flag. The secrecy, the vagueness, the friend. Brenda, no doubt. It was like a new puzzle piece clicking into place, but this one was far more sinister. My opportunity came when Sarah needed something from the house, and I offered to drop it off at Brenda's. I timed it carefully, knowing her schedule. When I got there, I accidentally locked my keys in my car, just as she was leaving. While she went inside to grab her spare set, I took a quick look around her car. My heart was thumping against my ribs. I found it. Tucked under the passenger seat, almost completely hidden, was a sleek, professional-looking briefcase. My hands were shaking as I discreetly pulled it out, trying to appear casual. It wasn't locked. I opened it. Inside, my breath hitched. It was full of documents, not just random papers, but organized files related to a jewelry import-export business. Names, addresses, bank accounts. My eyes scanned frantically, and then I saw the partnership agreement, signed, between Sarah and Brenda. My supposed friend Brenda, who had been in on this from the very beginning, who had played dumb, who had cheered Sarah on. The level of betrayal from both of them was staggering. This wasn't just Sarah's affair, it was a full-blown conspiracy, a fraudulent business operation designed to strip me bare. Further in the briefcase, I found invoices for custom jewelry pieces, and my blood ran cold again as I saw the details. Descriptions that matched the diamond solitaire and the men's band I'd discovered on the credit card statements. Proof, absolute, undeniable proof that this business was directly tied to their affair, their engagement, and their plan to financially ruin me. Then, tucked under a stack of invoices, I found it. A business card. Rick's Investments. Underneath, his name, Richard Jenkins, the same Rick, the divorce lawyer, the lover, the investor in their sham jewelry business. It all solidified into a sickening, twisted masterpiece of deceit. Rick wasn't just her lawyer and her lover. He was orchestrating the financial fraud. He was helping her funnel our marital assets through this fake business, presumably to hide them from me during the divorce proceedings. The phrase, "sell those items, babe, we'll need the cash," from his email roared back into my mind, now with terrifying clarity. This wasn't about selling old belongings. It was about liquidating hidden assets. I immediately called Daniel. He listened, his voice grim. "This is big, Mark. This is a common tactic for hiding assets in high-stakes divorces. They create a shell company, funnel money through it, declare losses, or inflate expenses to hide actual profits. It's illegal, and it's a form of financial fraud." He advised me to document everything, photograph every single page. My hands, still trembling, became steady. I pulled out my phone and meticulously, carefully started taking photos of every single document in that briefcase. Partnership agreements, invoices, bank statements for the business card for Rick's investments. Page by agonizing page, I captured the evidence. Every click of the camera felt like a small victory against their monstrous deception. This wasn't just evidence of an affair, it was evidence of a full-blown criminal conspiracy. I then carefully, painstakingly, replaced every document exactly as I found it. The briefcase slid back under the seat. No trace, no indication that I had ever touched it, that I knew anything. Sarah, Brenda, Rick, they were still in the dark, still thinking they were untouchable. NGL, this whole ordeal has made me question everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and even the people closest to you. But I'm still here fighting. Stick around to the end to see how life's costly choices unfold. I chose our weekly in-person meeting, the one she'd so clinically set up. We were at a neutral coffee shop. She walked in looking annoyed, probably expecting another fruitless attempt from me to win her back. I cut her off before she could even start with her usual dismissive tone. "Sarah," I began, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands that only I could feel. "Let's cut the crap. This isn't a trial separation. This is a calculated attempt to leave me after you've already started a new life and tried to drain our assets." Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of surprise, but then her face hardened. "Mark, what are you talking about? You're being insane. You're imagining things. You're just trying to make this about me so you don't have to deal with your own issues." The gaslighting started immediately. "You're crazy. Are you stalking me now?" I didn't even flinch. I just reached into my bag and pulled out the stack of printed photos from Ben, the PI. I spread them across the table. Sarah and Rick holding hands in the park. Sarah and Rick looking cozy at the coffee shop. Sarah and Rick getting into his car. Undeniable. Proof of the infidelity. Her face drained of color. She picked up a photo, her hand trembling. This is nothing. He's just a business associate, Mark. We were talking about the jewelry business. You're twisting things." Her voice was weaker now, a desperate edge to it. She was still trying to deny it, even with her face staring back at her from the photos, caught in an intimate moment with another man. "A business associate who you bought a wedding band for?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. "A business associate from Rick's investments, who you're having an affair with, and who happens to be a divorce lawyer." That's when I saw the true shock register. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I pressed on. "And yes, Sarah, I know about the jewelry business. I know about the partnership agreement with Brenda. I know about the invoices for the rings. I know about everything in that briefcase you keep under your passenger seat." Her jaw dropped. Her eyes darted around the coffee shop, as if looking for an escape, or maybe wondering if I had somehow bugged her car. The color returned to her face in an angry flush. The carefully constructed facade crumbled. "You went through my things," she hissed, her voice rising. "You had no right. That's an invasion of privacy, Mark." Always shifting the blame, always the victim. "An invasion of privacy?" I retorted, a bitter laugh escaping me. "What about an invasion of our marriage, our finances, our entire life, Sarah? While I was working myself to death, worried about us, you were plotting to steal from me with your lover and your business associate, Brenda." She slumped back in her chair, defeated but still defiant. "You never supported my entrepreneurial spirit, Mark. You always held me back." Me. The audacity of her blaming me for her criminal enterprise was beyond belief. "It's not an entrepreneurial spirit when it's fraud, Sarah," I said, leaning forward. "And my lawyer, Daniel, knows everything. He has all the evidence, the bank statements, the credit card charges, the PI reports, the emails, and yes, even the photos of all the documents from your little business briefcase." Her eyes narrowed, filled with venom. "You think you're so smart, don't you, Mark? Fine. You want to fight? I'll give you a fight. I'll make your life a living hell in court." "That's fine," I said, standing up, "because Daniel has advised me to pursue an at-fault divorce based on adultery and financial fraud. And we have irrefutable proof of both." The look on her face, the pure, raw terror mingled with rage, was almost satisfying. Almost, because beneath it all, there was still the searing pain of betrayal. Later that week, the papers were served. Divorce papers, detailing everything. Every piece of evidence, every transaction, every photo. It wasn't just a breakup anymore. This was a war, and I was ready for my pro-revenge. But Daniel was prepared. He systematically presented our evidence, piece by painful piece. The PI reports with the photos, undeniable proof of the affair. The detailed spreadsheets of the systematic cash withdrawals and suspicious credit card charges. The printed emails from Rick, talking about their future and selling items. And then the documents from the briefcase, the partnership agreement for the sham jewelry business, the invoices for the rings. It was a mountain of irrefutable proof. The jewelry store owner was subpoenaed. Walking into court, looking nervous but honest, she testified under oath. She confirmed the purchase of 2 rings by Mrs. Sarah, my last name. And yes, for the men's band, she distinctly remembered Sarah being accompanied by a man who introduced himself as her business partner. It was another blow delivered publicly, confirming everything I had discovered in secret. Watching Rick, Sarah's lawyer and lover, try to argue against this evidence was almost comical, if it weren't so gut-wrenching. He was visibly flustered, stammering, trying to discredit my evidence, but it was too concrete. He kept trying to paint the business as legitimate, the rings as innocent purchases, the affair as a misunderstanding. But the sheer volume and interconnectedness of the evidence made his arguments fall flat. I had also worked closely with Daniel to prepare a detailed statement for the court. It wasn't just a dry list of facts, it was a narrative. It outlined Sarah's systematic deception, starting from her initial vague reasons for separation, through the gaslighting, the covert financial draining, the fraudulent business, and finally the blatant affair with her own divorce lawyer. I made sure to emphasize the calculated nature of her actions, painting a picture of deliberate manipulation and premeditated financial fraud, not just a marriage gone sour. Outside the courtroom, something else started to happen. News of the jewelry business and the affair began to discreetly leak within our shared social circles. I never directly said anything defamatory, but through carefully worded conversations, a few casual, "How's Brenda doing with that new jewelry business she started with Sarah?" Or, "Did you hear Sarah's new lawyer is quite close with her?" The truth started to surface. People talk, especially when there's juicy drama. Brenda, who had initially been Sarah's unwavering shield and accomplice, started facing increasing scrutiny. Mutual friends, some of whom I'd known for years, started asking questions. They remembered Brenda being oddly evasive or defending Sarah a little too vehemently. They remembered Sarah's sudden, lavish spending. The dots started connecting in their minds, and Brenda's reputation, once solid, began to crumble. Sarah's own reputation took a significant hit. Those who had initially believed her story about me being controlling or difficult started to see the cracks. The whispers grew louder. The once sympathetic nods turned into looks of judgment and disgust. It wasn't just a private betrayal anymore. It was becoming publicly known, slowly but surely, that she had orchestrated an elaborate fraud and had been having an affair with her divorce lawyer. The marriage drama was no longer just behind closed doors. The court, seeing the overwhelming and undeniable evidence of both adultery and severe financial misconduct, began to lean heavily in my favor. The tide had truly turned. What started as her calculated betrayal was now becoming her public downfall. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice, playing out in the most public and painful way for her. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. This was about professional misconduct. The revelation of Rick's involvement put him in a severe ethical dilemma. His law license, his entire career, was now on the line. The judge was looking at him with an expression of intense disapproval. Daniel then dropped another bomb. "Your Honor, my client has also filed a formal report against Mr. Jenkins with the Bar Association, outlining his involvement in this fraudulent scheme and his unethical conduct as both counsel and co-conspirator." The air in the courtroom shifted. Rick went pale. The confident, smug lawyer persona he'd tried to maintain cracked entirely. He looked cornered, desperate. Suddenly, the aggressive tactics stopped. He started whispering frantically with Sarah, his face a mask of fear. Within days, Rick's tone changed completely. He was suddenly emailing Daniel, not with bluster, but with pleas for a quick, quiet settlement. He was trying to save his career, his reputation. The leverage had shifted entirely. Sarah, seeing Rick crumble and realizing the full extent of her predicament, that she wasn't just losing the divorce but potentially facing legal consequences for fraud, completely lost it. She turned on Rick right there in the courthouse hallway after a hearing. "This is all your fault, Rick. You told me this was a good idea. You told me it was legal." Her voice was shrill, spitting accusations. Their affair, their business partnership, everything unraveled publicly and privately in a mess of acrimony. The whispers in our social circles intensified. The happy couple from the PI photos were now tearing each other apart, exposed for their deceit. It was a spectacle of raw, desperate blame. Meanwhile, Daniel's team was relentless. With the court's approval, Sarah's finances were frozen. Every hidden bank account, every dollar siphoned through the jewelry business shell company was meticulously uncovered. I made sure the court was aware of every single asset she had tried to conceal. "The extra money we'll need soon," she mentioned to me. It was my money, hidden in accounts I never knew about, ready to be liquidated with Rick's help. In a last desperate attempt, Sarah tried to appeal to my emotions. She called me, tearful, her voice shaking. "Mark, please. I made a mistake. I miss you. Can't we just talk? Can't we fix this? We had so much together." Rick means nothing. It was a moment of weakness, I swear. The gaslighting was pathetic now, devoid of any real power. She was trying to pull at the old heartstrings, to revert to the Mark who was blindsided and heartbroken. But that Mark was gone. I was firm. "Sarah, there's nothing to fix. You orchestrated a calculated financial fraud with your lover. You drained our accounts. You bought him a ring with my money. There's no coming back from that. I have all the evidence. It's over." I hung up. The pleas, the tears, they didn't touch me. The emotional numbness I'd felt at the beginning had solidified into an unshakable resolve. The jewelry business was conclusively revealed to be nothing more than a shell company. Its purpose was clear: money laundering, asset hiding, and facilitating their affair under the guise of legitimate enterprise. Brenda, as a signatory on the partnership agreement and a participant in the scheme, was officially implicated. She wasn't just a naive friend anymore. She was a co-conspirator, now facing her own legal troubles and the complete destruction of her reputation. The whole corrupt house of cards was falling down. I was awarded a significant portion of the marital assets, far more than I had dared to hope for at the beginning of this nightmare. Sarah, on the other hand, received minimal. The judge made it clear that her actions, particularly the financial fraud, had severely impacted her claim. It wasn't just about dividing assets, it was about accountability. As for Rick, the fallout was swift and brutal. The Bar Association's investigation, fueled by my report and the evidence presented in court, moved quickly. His law license was suspended indefinitely, with the very real possibility of permanent disbarment. His career, his entire professional identity, was destroyed. His desperation to settle had been entirely justified. He paid the ultimate professional price for his unethical conduct and complicity in fraud. Brenda, too, faced the music. As a named partner in the shell company, and with clear evidence of her involvement in the financial scheme, she faced legal consequences. I heard through the grapevine that she was struggling to find work, shunned by old friends, and grappling with financial ruin. The friendship she chose to prioritize over integrity cost her everything. Sarah's reputation was utterly destroyed. Socially, she was a pariah. The carefully crafted image she tried to project, the victim narrative, crumbled under the weight of the truth. Professionally, her career was in shambles. Who would trust someone proven to be a liar and a fraudster? The moral consequence of her actions was a total and complete ruin, a public downfall that mirrored the private devastation she had inflicted on me. With a divorce finalized and justice served, I put the marital home on the market. It was full of too many ghosts, too many painful memories. Selling it was a symbolic act, a severing of ties, a definitive end to that chapter of my life. I needed a fresh start, a clean slate, free from the echoes of betrayal. The emotional scars, however, ran deep. I committed to therapy, knowing that simply winning in court wasn't enough to heal the trauma of such profound betrayal. It was a slow process, but essential for rebuilding trust, not just in others, but in myself. Learning to separate her actions from my worth, understanding the gaslighting for what it was, and processing the grief for the future I thought I had. It all took time and professional guidance. Reflecting on the entire ordeal now, there's a deep sense of peace. Not happiness, not entirely, but peace. The anger has subsided, replaced by a quiet satisfaction that justice was served. My meticulous, logical investigation, every painful step of digging, every piece of evidence uncovered, directly led to this nuclear revenge and the just consequences for Sarah, Rick, and Brenda. They faced the music and I emerged, bruised but whole from the wreckage. I am now focusing on my own well-being and my future, determined not to let bitterness define me. The old Mark, the naive, blindsided Mark, is gone. In his place is someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. I found profound closure. The betrayal was devastating, but it also forced me to confront truths and find strength I never knew I possessed. I'm looking forward to building an independent life, one based on honesty and genuine connection, free from the shadows of deceit. The true cost of Sarah's actions wasn't just the divorce or the financial hit. It was the utter demolition of trust, not just in her, but in my perception of reality. Her betrayal wasn't a sudden mistake. It was a calculated, months-long operation, meticulously planned with her lawyer lover and her supposed best friend. The cold realism of it still hits me. Sarah lost everything: her reputation, her career, most of her assets, and the love of Rick, who tossed her aside to save his own skin. Brenda's life is in ruins too, tangled in the legal mess. NGL, the emptiness that followed the court's ruling after the adrenaline wore off, was profound. There's no grand cinematic revenge, just the quiet, ongoing process of rebuilding, knowing that the person I married never truly existed. The scars remain, a constant reminder of how deeply someone can deceive. My logical investigation brought justice, but the profound consequences of her choices continue to ripple through all our lives.